You are the perfect wife, a reliable partner, a shrine, and that is exactly why there is an icy wall between you and the bedroom. He loves you, but he does not crave you. His true animal hunger is locked in a dark basement where good women are forbidden entry. You have become everything to him except desired prey. Society lied to you. It taught that the role of the flawless Madonna is a guarantee of eternal love. But Carl Jung left us a different map, blueprints of the dark side of the soul. He revealed a dangerous truth. A man seeks in a woman not just a warm hearth, he seeks permission to meet his inner beast. Ancient Greeks knew, and Jung proved, to save the angel of love, sometimes one must release the demon of passion. In this video, we will destroy the Madonna and whore complex. You will understand why his instincts demand dirt for a sensation of holiness. You will learn the task of your inner dark femininity, and you will see the path, how one brazen touch can save your marriage from emotional death. These are not lessons in debauchery. These are lessons in liberation. If you are ready to learn the truth that men will carry with them to the grave, but will never dare to say to your face, our immersion begins. Let's slow down. Breathe in this silence. You know this moment. The light is off. The sheets are cool, crisp, perhaps even too sterile. He turns to you to say goodnight. His kiss is flawless. It is full of tenderness, care, deep respect. But there is no hunger in it. It is a kiss given to a porcelain figurine, afraid to leave a crack on it. You feel it with your skin, the way he holds himself back, how he builds an invisible wall out of his politeness. He loves you, yes, but he walls you off from his own nature. He is afraid that his true passion, his inner darkness might defile your bright, impeccable image. And so he leaves. He slips away into a world of pixels, pornography, and rough fantasies, to where he does not need to be careful. And you remain lying in the dark, the perfect wife who followed all the rules, but feels infinitely lonely. This is the quiet tragedy of a woman who wins in domestic life, but loses the war against disembodied phantoms, simply because he does not dare touch you the way he wants to. Listen to me carefully. Everything is fine with you. That burning shame that flares up inside when you imagine yourself being bad is not the voice of your conscience. It is just an echo of other people's rules. You were taught that being a lady means holding back, saving face even in a moment of passion. But your soul knows a different truth. The desire to be taken, the desire to throw off the crown and for a moment become an obedient thing or a shameless wench for him is not a pathology. And it is definitely not humiliation. It is a cry of your psyche for total fusion. It is a thirst for intimacy of such depth where there is no longer room for social mass, etiquette, and pretense. Your body is wiser than your upbringing. It knows that in love there are no hierarchies, there is only the naked truth of instinct. Look at this from another frightening side. He is drawn to this dirt not because he is depraved, but because he is deadly tired of being a hero. Think about it. All day he wears the armor of responsibility, makes decisions, holds the sky over your family's head. And in the bedroom, he seeks not just pleasure, he seeks oblivion. He needs a woman who, with one brazen, almost animal gesture, will take off this unbearable burden of total control from him. When you cross the line of decency, you give him the rarest gift, the opportunity to surrender. In that moment, he does not want to be a leader, a father, or a protector. He wants to drown in the chaos that you control. This is the mystical paradox of our nature. For the spirit to soar to the heights of love, the roots must touch the darkest, dampest earth. However, courage alone is not enough here. To truly decide on this touch, we need to understand the cold mechanics of this male splitting. We must take a sober look at the cruel paradox. Why does your flawless, holy love so often lead to a tragic impotence of the spirit? Why does light kill attraction where shadow could kindle it? This is not a system failure. This is a pattern that Carl Jung described with frightening precision. And to find a way out, we must for a time stop being just lovers and become researchers. But to allow ourselves this freedom, we must first dissect the myth that holds us captive. Let's be honest. You have surely already tried the standard arsenal. You bought that indecently expensive lace lingerie. You changed your hairstyle. You tried to be even more tender, even more understanding, even more perfect. And what happened? Perhaps he appreciated your efforts. Perhaps he even paid a compliment. But did that spark flare up, from which breath is caught and reason clouds? Most likely no. Why? Because you are trying to treat a deep wound with a Band-Aid from a glossy magazine. You believe the lie that a man's desire depends on aesthetics, that if you become more beautiful, he will want you more strongly. But this is a mistake. Aesthetics evoke admiration. It does not evoke animal hunger. A man does not make love to a picture, no matter how beautiful it is. Imagine a hungry wolf. He craves raw meat, the smell of blood, and life. And you approach him and with the best intentions offer an exquisite, hand-painted porcelain plate. Beautiful? Undoubtedly. But it is inedible. You are trying to feed his instinct with beauty when he needs energy. You can put on the most expensive, most revealing lace in the world. But if underneath it your body is fettered by the fear of appearing vulgar, if inside you are still a good girl who simply put on a masquerade costume, the man will feel it instantly. In the darkness of the bedroom, he will feel only cold silk, not the heat of a living woman. Stop looking at yourself in the mirror for a minute and look at him. Really look. What do you see? Most likely you see reliability, strength, responsibility. But from the point of view of depth psychology, you are looking at a person trapped in metal. I call this knight in armor syndrome. From the moment he wakes up, he puts on the heavy armor of his social role. He must be a provider, a protector, a father, an impenetrable wall. 24 hours a day, he is obliged to be rational, restrained, and correct. This control is colossal, and it is monstrously exhausting. And so he returns home, to you. You are his good wife, the keeper of his hearth. And that is exactly why he cannot take off this armor next to you. He is afraid that if he shows what is underneath, his weakness, his wildness, his animal aggression, he will destroy that bright world that you built together. He is afraid to scare you with his real self. Here is born what you mistakenly take for perversion or cooling. His dark, dirty fantasies are not a sign of his depravity. This is compensation. This is the law of psychic balance. The harder and more correct his conscious life is during the day, the more chaotic and shameless his unconscious must be at night, just so he does not go crazy from the tension. His armor has fused with his skin, and what he seeks in pornography or fantasies about a whore is not sex. It is the only space where he is not required to be a hero. Only in the space of absolute shameless debauchery does he receive the right to finally be weak, to be led, to be just a body from which the duty to save the world has been removed. And now let's turn the camera 180 degrees. Enough talking about him. Let's talk about you. Ask yourself right now and be brutally honest. Are you afraid of what will happen if you lose control? Are you afraid to stop being the one who waits for an invitation and become the one who takes what is hers? I want you to remember a specific moment. Maybe it was yesterday, maybe a month ago. A flash, an impulse. Your body wanted to do something sharp, something wrong, to bite, to squeeze, to say something dirty, to demand. But a split second before the action, a switch clicked in your head. The inner censor, the voice of mom, the teacher, society whispered, "Don't you dare, what will he think? That is vulgar." And you swallowed this impulse. You smiled. You remained sweet. What will happen if for one night you stop being a good girl? Who exactly are you so afraid to let out? I ask you to do this right now. Pause this video. Seriously, press stop. Close your eyes and go back to that moment when you killed that urge in yourself. Look at it. Because what you suppressed was not a mistake. It was a key. What you discovered in that pause is not just your personal secret or flaw. You groped for a universal map of human tragedy. In psychology, there is a name for this. Sigmund Freud called it the Madonna whore complex. This is a torturous state where a man can deeply love a woman but not desire her, or furiously desire but not be capable of loving her. But our guide, Carl Jung, looked at this much deeper. He saw in this not just a vulgar sexual neurosis, but a fundamental inability of the modern psyche to withstand what he called the tension of opposites. This is called splitting. To keep the world understandable and safe, the male unconscious draws a cruel line. On one side remains the light, your safety, comfort, motherhood, respect. But often deprived of energy, this space becomes sterile and dead. On the other side, the dark is banished. Instincts, aggression, uncontrollable lust. This space frightens, it seems dirty, but it is precisely in it that life itself pulses. The tragedy of your marriage is that he keeps these worlds separated, thinking that he is saving you. But Jung saw in this splitting not virtue, but a tragic split of the soul, which forgot the great law. A tree whose crown wants to touch heaven must inevitably have roots going down to the very hell. So how do we heal this tragic split? The answer lies not in new seduction techniques, but in awakening an ancient force that our culture has silenced. In Jungian psychology, there are 4 great female archetypes. You know the mother well. She gives comfort and safety. You know the Amazon. She gives success and competence. But there is a third figure, banished and shamed by centuries of morality. Jungians call her the Hetaira. In ancient times, this archetype bore the name of the sacred whore. This word hurts the ear of a modern person, but cast aside prejudices. In the temples of Aphrodite or Ishtar, these women were not fallen. They were priestesses. Their task was sacred. Unlike the mother who serves the family and stability, the Hetaira serves Eros. She serves pure energy. She is a conduit connecting the earthly and the divine through ecstasy. When we say, touch him like a whore, we are not calling for cheap vulgarity. We are talking about a ritual invocation of the Hetaira. Understand the difference. When you touch him like a mother, he feels peace. But when you touch him brazenly, imperiously, greedily, without a shadow of shame, you send a powerful signal to his unconscious. This signal sounds like this. I see your inner beast. I see your shadow that you hide from the world, and I am not afraid of it. I welcome it. This is an act of supreme psychological acceptance. This is not debauchery. This is initiation. In this moment, you stop being just a partner. You become that very priestess who opens the cage gates. You give him permission to be whole. She is not a slave to his desires. She is a guide who, through a chaotic, dirty ritual of the flesh, returns his own soul to him. Let me tell a story that explains this better than any theory. Let's call them Robert and Anna. Robert was the man others look up to, a successful architect, a man with a steel core who always kept everything under control. He wore his responsibility like a second skin. Anna was his ideal match, gentle, understanding, light. But their bedroom had turned into a museum. Everything beautiful, quiet, and do not touch. Sex had become a mechanical ritual before sleep. One evening, when Robert again touched her with the same polite, murderous caution, something inside Anna snapped. She realized she was losing him, not to another woman, but to the icy void between them. And instead of asking, "What's wrong?" for the 1,000th time, she did what she feared most. She released her shadow. She did not wait for initiative. She intercepted his hand. Harshly, almost painfully. She pushed him into the armchair, and in her gaze there was not a drop of that soft, all-forgiving wife he knew. With a voice that was an octave lower than usual, husky and commanding, she did not ask. She demanded. She used words that she previously considered dirty and unacceptable. She ordered him to shut up and submit. Robert froze. For the first second, shock flickered in his eyes. His ordered world turned upside down. But then something incredible happened. His shoulders, eternally tense under the weight of responsibility, suddenly slumped. His impenetrable armor crumbled to dust. He made a sound, half moan, half sob, the sound of a man who has thrown off a heavy burden. He did not push her away. He surrendered to her. That night, there was no marital duty between them. It was a storm. It was a catharsis. And in the moment when she roughly pushed him onto the bed, in his eyes one could read not fear and not condemnation, but infinite blind gratitude that someone finally dared to rip the general's epaulets off him and allowed him to be just alive. Look deeper at what happened in this story. Robert cried not from offense. He cried from relief. All his life, from childhood, he was taught to control himself, to be restrained, to be a man. And Anna, with her unexpected, wild brazenness, did for him what he could not do for himself. She forcibly switched off his inner controller. When you touch him like a whore, greedily, imperiously, unceremoniously, you do not humiliate him. You do the exact opposite. You send him the most powerful, most healing message a man can hear from a woman. Here in this darkness, you do not need to be good. You do not need to be correct. You do not need to ask for permission. Remember your man. Remember the heaviness with which he comes home. Do you think he wants you to be another task that needs to be solved correctly and delicately? No, he craves a space where rules cease to apply. Your dirt, your supposedly vulgar initiative, becomes for him the only form of rest. Stop thinking that you are offering him debauchery. This is a perception error. You are giving him not pornography. You are giving him the only place on earth where he can take off the responsibility for this world. Stop being Atlas holding the sky and become just a man dissolving in a woman. This is not a sin. This is a refuge. Now that we have seen how this freedom can heal a man, I want to ask you perhaps the most difficult question of this evening. The question is not about him. The question is about your own shadow. What part of yourself have you locked in the basement, deciding that it is unworthy of light? Each of us has a sister shadow, the one who wants not to ask but to demand, the one who wants to be loud, greedy, inconvenient, the one who knows no shame. You have starved her for years, wearing the mask of propriety, because it was instilled in you that if you let her out, people would stop respecting you. You are afraid that this inner whore will destroy your life. But what if she is the only one who can breathe life into it? This war between decency in the head and passion in the belly is going on not only in you. This is the secret battle of millions of women who are watching this screen right now. We are used to being silent about this, thinking that we are alone in our depravity. But silence only strengthens the bars of the cage. I want to invite you to break this circle of silence right here and now. We are building here a community not just of viewers, but of seekers. People who have the courage to look their truth in the eye. Go down to the comments. You don't need to write details if you are not ready, but share your feelings. Is this inner prison of the good woman familiar to you? Do you feel this gap between who you are by day and who you want to be by night? How heavy is this mask? Write, "I know this cage," or tell your story of struggle. Your comment could be that very key that helps another woman understand that she has not gone crazy. Write in the comments, are you ready to make an escape? Let's rise above the situation in the bedroom and look at the picture of your life as a whole. What you are used to calling lust or dirt, Carl Jung called by another word, libido. And for him, it meant much more than just sex. This is pure psychic energy. This is the fuel of your life. This is the same fire that makes you create, laugh, achieve goals, and feel the taste of food. By suppressing your shadow sexuality, you don't just become a decent wife. You cut off the main pipeline of your life force. You become lethargic, dull, correct, and dead inside. You cannot kill the demon of passion without wounding the angel of creativity. They feed from the same root. The sages of the past, medieval alchemists, knew a secret that we have forgotten. They sought the philosopher's stone, the pure gold of the spirit. But where did their great work begin? It began not with prayers and light. It began with the stage of nigredo, blackness. This is the stage of rotting, decomposition, immersion in the darkest, foulest matter. Alchemists knew gold cannot be created from air. It can only be extracted from lead and dirt. Your desire to touch brazenly, your desire to be an animal, this is your nigredo. This is not garbage to be gotten rid of. This is that very fertile black soil without which the seed of love will never sprout. In alchemy, the stage of rotting was sacred. So why do you consider your dark desires a disgrace and not a foundation? Understand this great truth. For love, like a lotus, the roots must be in the silt for the flower to open toward the sun. Without a descent into the dirt of instincts, there is not and cannot be an ascension of the spirit. However, before you rush to bring this to life, I must issue a stern warning. Listen to me very carefully, because this is exactly where the majority makes a fatal mistake. This is not an acting class. You cannot just play this role like an actress putting on a costume before going on stage. If you try to use brazen touch as a mechanical technique, as a trick from a women's training, while inside you everything shrinks from shame and awkwardness, it will be a disaster. A man is a creature living by instincts. He feels falseness with his skin. He reads the micro vibrations of your body. If he feels that you are trying to be depraved, but in reality you are scared or disgusted, his reaction will not be arousal, but rejection, or even worse, pity. He will instantly read your discomfort, and his knight's armor will slam shut even tighter to protect you from your own game. This is not theater. If you just play the role of a libertine while experiencing shame inside, he will feel not passion, but your fear. Therefore, the work must begin not in the bedroom with him, but in silence with yourself. You cannot release his beast if your own inner predator sits in a cage under the lock of morality. You must first legalize this energy within yourself. You must find your shadow, look it in the eye and say, I accept you. You are me. Only when you yourself believe in your right to be bad, only when this desire becomes your truth and not your role, only then will your touch gain that magical power capable of destroying walls. Your hand must move not because it must, but because you want it to. How do we practically awaken this power without destroying ourselves? I offer you an exercise based on Jung's active imagination method. Let's call it dialogue with the shadow sister. You need to remain in absolute solitude. Turn off your phone. Create a sacred space of silence. Close your eyes and let your imagination summon an image. Imagine a woman who looks exactly like you, but there is not a drop of your fear, not a gram of your shame in her. This is your inner Lilith. She is free. She is perhaps vulgar. She is imperious. She is you, stripped of social breaks. Do not judge her. Approach her and ask her one simple question. What do you want? And listen, the answer may shock you. She might say, I want to scream. I want to scratch. I want to be worshipped. Do not analyze this with your mind. Feel this impulse with your gut. And then take the next step. Open your eyes and stand in front of the mirror. This is the most important moment of the ritual. Tell yourself, I give you a place. Allow this energy, the energy of your shadow sister, to enter your body like water fills a vessel. Stand before the mirror and allow her to look at the world through your eyes. How will your posture change? How will your gaze change? Maybe the chin will rise higher. Maybe the shoulders will relax and the breathing will become deeper and heavier. Try to walk around the room with her gait. Try to pronounce your name with her voice. Low, velvet, demanding. You must live through this state alone with yourself. You must appropriate this power physically, dance this dance in solitude before you bring it into the bedroom. Your body must remember being bad is safe. Being brazen means being alive. When you perform this inner marriage between your light and dark sides, something majestic happens. You stop being a flat, one-dimensional character in someone else's play. You gain volume. You gain wholeness. A woman who owns both her inner angel and her inner demon becomes for a man the most incomprehensible, most desired mystery in the universe. Why? Because there is life in her in all its fullness. You stop being just a good wife who is convenient to have around. You become a force of nature that must be reckoned with. Remember, true virtue is not sterile purity and fearful absence of sin. It is complete sovereign power over it. It is the ability to descend into the hell of one's instincts and return back, not burning up, but bringing fire from there. By owning your whore, you do not lose your dignity. On the contrary, you strengthen it with a foundation of primal power. You stop being a half-seeking approval. You become a whole universe in which there is room for both the blinding light of stars and the velvet, frightening darkness of the cosmic abyss. And it is before this universe that a man bows his head. Let's summarize. What we call a brazen touch is actually the highest act of love. It is a hammer shattering the glass wall of loneliness between two correct people. Remember, in the darkness of your bedroom, there is no place for public morality. There is place only for truth, and sometimes this truth requires you to be absolutely shameless. Do not be afraid of your shadow. Your dirt, shared by two, is that very sacred glue that bonds souls stronger than any vows of fidelity spoken in the light of day. Imagine a relationship where there is no longer fear of appearing wrong. This is that very great alchemical marriage that mystics dreamed of. In such a union, passion does not die under the weight of everyday life and years. It burns only brighter because it feeds not on the novelty of bodies, but on the most honest, the dirtiest, and therefore the holiest truth about who you really are. You become an inexhaustible source for each other. And then your bedroom ceases to be a place for the boring performance of marital duty. It becomes a temple of eternal recognition, the only place in the universe where two can shed their human form and finally become real. I want to thank you. To watch this video to the end, to meet face to face with these uncomfortable, forbidden truths. This requires huge courage. It is easy to stay in the cozy cage of propriety. It is incredibly hard to step into the labyrinth of one's instincts. But no, you are not alone in this journey. And what you feel is not depravity, not a defect. It is the call of your soul demanding wholeness. You are not sinners. You are brave seekers of truth in a world that prefers comfortable lies. The world may call it vice. We call it the difficult but only true path to the self. This channel is not for entertainment. It is a laboratory of the human soul. If you are looking for simple advice and sweet lies, this is not the place for you. But if you are ready for hard work, if you are ready to turn your pain into wisdom and your deepest fears into a source of indestructible strength, then your place is here. Join the Order of Seekers. Click the subscribe button so as not to lose Ariadne's thread in this labyrinth of the unconscious. Subscribe if you are ready to explore those corners of the soul where others are afraid to even look. See you in the dark.